Hello everybody and welcome. In today's video, we're going to be talking about player evaluations. And let's get started with an overview. Our player example for today is Cole Palmer at Chelsea. He's one of the great younger players in the world, so let's talk about how to evaluate him. Choosing a player role for your best players is one of the most important things you can do for your tactic, and choosing this player for their best role takes precedent over everybody else. The best player gets their best role and everybody else falls in line. Like usual, let's first talk about some things to keep in mind when evaluating your players. First, we can do some broad strokes and figure out the player's archetype. If they're a midfielder, what kind of midfielder are they? Are they more creative or more defensive? Next, we need to figure out their standout attributes. These high attributes will fall in line with their player archetype. And finally, if they have any, look at their player traits. Ideally, those player traits would mix with their standout attributes. And if you're wondering about attributes and what's considered good, for the Premier League or any of the top leagues around the world, I use the number 13 as the baseline. Anything above 13 is good, better, elite, and so on. Anything below 13 is decent, below average, poor, etc. As a rule of thumb, I would subtract one number for each league below the Premier League. So the Championship, 12 can be the baseline, League 1, 11, and so on. This can work for many of the other leagues around the world as well. It's not an exact science, but those baselines should get you started. We want to evaluate our player like this because we want to figure out if there's a role that can take advantage of his specific attributes. And in the next section, we'll do a deep dive on Cole Palmer and his attributes. Let's go back to Palmer's profile and start to evaluate. Using the number 13 as the baseline, we can see that Palmer is a very creative player. He has good attributes in dribbling, passing, and vision, and borderline elite attributes in first touch, flair, off the ball, and especially technique. On the flip side, he has very poor defensive attributes, like tackling, aggression, bravery, and positioning. This is a bit of a broad statement, but generally if you play in the center midfield, you're expected to put in some kind of defensive effort. So Palmer would not do well in a lot of center midfield roles because he's not a strong defensive player. And this checks out with his natural positions. He's natural in the attacking center midfield and on the right flank, and he's only competent in the center midfield. So when choosing his position in our tactic, ideally we would keep him in one of those two positions. Alright, so we know he's a creative player and he wants to play in one of those more advanced positions, but there's one more thing we need to look at, and that's his player traits. And he has a handful of them that focus on creativity, which tracks with our evaluation. But these first two caught my eye. Shoots from distance, and curls ball. If we look at his attributes again, he has the long shots attribute of 14, which overall is above average, but for this specific attribute, it's actually pretty high. At this point, we want to remember that attributes aren't used in isolation and they all work together. So Palmer has a pretty good attribute in long shots, but that works in combination with attributes like first touch, dribbling, technique, flair, and so on. These attributes, in combination with his player traits, means he's especially deadly when shooting from a distance. And to figure out what player role best takes advantage of this, we need to bring back our player role quiz. For our question, what is the only player role in the more advanced midfield or flank position that has long shots as a required key attribute? The answer? The attacking midfielder, both on support and attack. However, as a bonus question, what is special about the attacking midfielder on support? It doesn't have any hard-coded instructions. By using him in a tactic like this, in the center attacking midfield, using the attacking midfielder role on support, we can give him a player role that both takes advantage of his unique attribute sets, as well as giving him more freedom to play as he sees fit, which is a useful thing for creative players. If you're wondering, I've been messing around with a few different tactical ideas with Chelsea, and this is a recent one I've been workshopping. We're going to check out some highlights next, and while the roles around him have changed a little, Palmer is always in the attacking midfielder on support. Our first clip is maybe one of the greatest volleys I've ever seen. It starts with our goal kick, and Palmer will end up with it. He'll show off his combination of player traits and a player role that seemingly tells him to do that a little more. This clip starts with our center back on the ball. Palmer wants to be involved in the build-up, but unlike a playmaker, the attacking midfielder role isn't a focus role, so teammates don't deliberately seek him out. He'll wait for his chance, and then he shows off the curls ball player trait. Starting with the opponent on the ball, here we'll see a bit of his defensive positioning. The attacking midfielder drops to help bring numbers into the midfield. But like many of the other more attack-focused roles, he prefers teammates to do the hard work. Eventually, Palmer gets on the ball and gets a bit lucky with his assist. Our final clip, we flip sides and starts with our goal kick. This sequence shows again how the attacking midfielder role will be a part of the build-up, but unlike a playmaker like the advanced playmaker, they don't demand the ball and they're not magnetized to it. Palmer will get the assist after a nice sequence of play. As we wrap up, hopefully this video has shown you how we can evaluate our players and choose a player role that best fits their attributes and skill set. If you'd like to write your own scouting reports, you can check out my digital FM planner or some player role shirts at the Half Space Apparel. I've also got a Patreon account if you'd like to support the channel. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.